Les Visiteurs is a French fantasy comedy film directed by Jean-Marie Poir and released in 1993. In this comedy, a 12th century knight and his squire travel in time to the end of the 20th century and find themselves adrift in modern society. Les Visiteurs was the highest-grossing film in France in 1993 and remains the 14th highest-grossing film in the country today. The publicity for the film used the tagline "Ils ne sont pas nés d'hier," they weren't born yesterday. Reno and Clavier reprised their roles in a sequel in 1998, the American remake Just Visiting in 2001, and a second sequel in 2016. The castle of Ermenonville, in Oise Department, served as decoration for the castle of Montmirail in the current time and the site de Carcassonne for medieval period. Storyline. In the year 1123, Godefroy Amaury de Malfite, Count of Appermont and Papincourt, saves the life of his beloved sovereign, King Louis VI le Gros, the Fat, from the sword of a horribilis Englishman. For this action of bravery, the king makes him Count of Montmirail and promises him the woman he loves, the beautiful Frenegond de Pouilly. On his way to the castle to marry Frenegond, Godefroy takes a witch prisoner and she drugs his drinking flask. Hallucinating, he believes the Duke of Pouilly, father of his future wife, is a ferocious bear and kills him with a crossbow bolt. During the Duke's funeral, Frenegond refuses to marry Godefroy because of the tragedy. Meanwhile, Godefroy's servant, the disreputable Jacques-Ouille Le Fripouille, steals the Duke's jewels at end of the funeral. In an attempt to repair his mistake, Godefroy asks the wizard Eusebius to send him back in time to a moment before he shot the Duke. The old wizard muddles his magical spell, accidentally sending Godefroy and Jacques-Ouille to the year 1992. There, they immediately run into trouble. Godefroy attacks a postman driving his car, mistaking him for a Moor in a devil's chariot. When he meets his descendant, Beatrice de Montmirail, an aristocrat who looks exactly like Frenegond, she calls the gendarmerie, who first imprison him, then as Beatrice thinks Godefroy is her distant cousin suffering from amnesia, take him to a mental hospital. Jacques-Ouille, meanwhile, is befriended by Jeannette Le Clochard, Jeannette the Tramp in French, an attractive vagrant they meet early in their adventure. Beatrice, thinking Godefroy to be her long-lost stuntman cousin Hubert, gets Godefroy out of the mental hospital and takes them back to her home, much to her husband, who greatly dislikes the fact of the two being in their home, Jean-Pierre's dismay. There, various culture shock comedy ensues as Godefroy and Jacques-Ouille attempt to fathom modern household appliances, such as flooding the bathroom by leaving the tap open, using an umbrella as a pike to roast a leg of lamb, and setting it on fire, washing their hands in the toilet, trashing the bathroom during their baths, and wasting all of the family's 6,000 French francs Chanel No. 5, greatly angering Jean-Pierre. Seeing the family seal on Godefroy's hand, Beatrice assumes he stole the jewel from the Castle de Montmirail, now renovated into an expensive hotel. They go there and meet the owner of the castle, the effete Jacques-Henri Jacquard, the unwitting descendant and close likeness of Jacques-Ouille. They react to each other with mutual disgust. The jewel on Godefroy's hand starts to burn as they get closer to the castle, where the present-day version of the seal is. The two seals explode and destroy Jacquard's brand new Range Rover. Godefroy books a room for the night and reopens a secret passage known only to him. There he finds a letter telling him to go to a certain address, where an aged Monsieur Ferdinand, the last descendant of the wizard Eusebius, gives him the potion that will return him to the year 1123. Jacques-Ouille, however, wants to stay, enjoying Jeannette's company, and having proved more adaptable than Godefroy in discovering toothpaste, modern clothing and other amenities of the future. Furious at his behavior, Godefroy finally brings him to the hotel room by force. While Godefroy is talking with Beatrice, Jacques-Ouille swaps jackets with his descendant, closes the curtains, dims the lights, drugs Jacquard, and puts him on the bed in his place. In the dark, Godefroy gives Jack word, thinking it is Jacques-Ouille, the potion which then sends him back to the year 1123. Godefroy equally comes back just in time to stop himself from shooting Frennigan's father, and the deflected crossbow bolt kills the witch who caused the whole misadventure by drugging Godefroy's flask. The bewildered Jacquard finds himself stranded in the past in the role of Godefroy's servant as Godefroy leaves on horseback with Frennigan. Did you know? Mel Brooks was hired to write and record English-language dialogue for the US release. But the version did not test well with audiences, and co-writer-director Jean-Marie Poire hated it, saying Brooks had turned it from a comedy about a French knight into a parody with French accents so thick it was almost impossible to understand. So Miramax held up US release until the summer of 1996, with standard subtitles. Brooks was paid $500,000 for his efforts, however. Top-selling movie in France in 1993. The name Jacques-Ouille Le Fripouille translates roughly as Jack the Knave or Jacques the Scoundrel, but the original French contains a pun which is very audible to French-speaking listeners, as the first name is pronounced as Jacques-Ouille, couille being the French slang word equivalent to the English balls for testicles. See you later. Thanks for the subscription.